Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubh Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesday is when we take somebody from our studio audience. I like saying studio audience. From our audience, and we bring them on the show for about 5 or 10 minutes, pick their brain. Usually they're doing something sort of interesting. But before we get to our cherished guest, Miss Mara, do you have any announcements for us?
Back to your recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And there's an asana class with Michelle Berger today at 3:30 p.m. for our Patreon members.
Patreon members? How do you become a Patreon member? Well, Wisdom of the Sages is a community-supported podcast. You go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, and then you can enter into the secret Patreon chambers, where there's lots of classes, workshops. It's been a while. Maybe we should do a Sweet Baby Krishna coming up. What do you think about that? Good morning, Mr. Kaustubh. Mr. Kaustubh is the grounded, thoughtful depth of our show. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing okay, Raghunath.
You seem very, very placid, like a calm lake.
No.
Like a deep lake.
I'm just sensing that you might go off today, so I'm just trying to hold it down. Sometimes you need to be held down by like me saying it directly, and sometimes I just have to kind of like not respond.
We're the Peter and Paul commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Peter Paul, I'm always got nuts. Peter Paul, man, don't.
See,
anybody know what I'm talking about here?
Anybody
know what
respond.
I'm talking about? Okay. Mr. Kaustubh,
yes.
You got any announcements? Because
No, I'm good to go.
Right,
I'm ready to hear from our special Walk on Wednesday guest.
Okay, Thomas Essig, walk on in. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Good morning.
Tom is one of the early subscribers to the podcast. Pre-podcast, Tom used to live locally.
He used to even come in the morning for it, right?
He used to come every morning. Yeah, he used to come every morning along with Mara. That's how Miss Mara got involved in this, and Bhakti Mike, and we had a whole little morning sangha. And then all of a sudden, we became a podcast, and now Tom is a regular daily Zoomer. Probably maybe missed 5 episodes his entire life, and probably went back. There are people like that who just
not only
never
that,
missed a Zoom. It's pretty impressive.
He was the engineer for the opening, little thing that we play.
That's right.
Every show.
If you listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tom made that. Thank you, Tom. So Tom's he's audio savvy. He's one of these guys. He's got he's got to make a movie about his life. He's got a very interesting story, but we're not going to talk about that. But he's a filmmaker, a director, producer, musician, multi-talented, he's one of these guys that builds robots. I was like, what? He's a robot builder. Who are you,
robots
man?
Are people too.
What's that?
Robots are people too.
Robots are people. This is what we're scared of. They're becoming people. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. He actually, I first brought Tom's partner, Sue, on pilgrimage. And she had just like such an ecstatic time, and we all love her. And then all of a sudden, the next year, she's like, I want to come on pilgrimage again, but I'm going to bring my husband. And I was like, oh no. Usually it doesn't work out so well when you have a great time and then you bring your husband, because your husband just like gets sort of dragged into it. But I remember Tom, and I was like analyzing him from a distance. And I saw him go up to the River Ganga, bow down, and then just get his head shaved and then bathe in the water. It was a beautiful thing to witness. And immediately I said, this man is like shedding layers of false selves on this pilgrimage already. He's got some deep connection to India. You want to tell me about your connection to India? What was like your first time you went? And tell me about, and then we're going to go into the film you made called Something Divine.
India was shedding. That was 2017 was me to finally have a chance to mourn the passing of my mother. And to actually, it was the opening to answered prayers to become who I am as a creative person. So it's a very auspicious trip. And I fell in love with India. I don't know. There's just this instant connection, having to been back. If it wasn't for COVID, I would have been back how many times already? So
yeah, you've been back a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And every time there's something auspicious that happens, something very special. Last year we had the blue cow on Govardhan Hill walk past us when we sat down. There's always something special that happens.
Yeah, we were talking about the blue cows, the Nirgoys that live at Govardhan. We're like, well, if we're lucky, we can see them. Then we're sitting there with Satchidananda Swami, sort of like in a meditative place, and this just blue cloud, just blue cow, just sort of sneaks on in the picture. That was a magic time. We've had a lot of magic together, Tom.
Yes.
And Tom wanted to make a movie, and he started coming with camera, film crew, etc., to both the Govardhan Eco Village and pilgrimage. You want to share what that inspiration was?
So, speaking of Sue, when she came back from pilgrimage in 2016, so she was telling me all about the trip and the people that go on the trip, and that you were a musician and this and that. And I actually looked you up, and this is how it all started. I made a flippant comment, a joke. How come somebody hasn't made a movie about this? And I had nothing to do with film at that point. So it's just, and 2 years later, I was involved with Go Don't Go, the first film.
Oh yeah.
Standing there in Philmont one night on set, and I went, oh my goodness, I can do this now. I have a ways and means. I got you on board. And to share India, pilgrimage, transforming yourself, as the film has turned out to what the film is about, became a mission, a mission from God. I'm on a mission from God.
Yeah. Sometimes I say that too. I just walk around. Sometimes I'll just say, I'm on a mission from God. Do you ever say that, Kostuba?
Not too much.
No, you should try it today. Try it today.
Okay.
Just walk around. I'm on a mission from God.
I think
whatever
the
you're
Blues
doing,
Brothers popularized that.
Yes, Blues Brothers popularized it, but I say that occasionally.
But I stand on that statement always. It was a blessed project to have quality people who knew what they were doing and helping a guy who's just trying to figure it out to put a project together. And I got lucky and found a local editor that we connected with. His name's Ragnar. It's just really been an intense 4-year pilgrimage of watching all this footage, and then watching the finished film probably 1,000 times, with doing the audio and looking for corrections and making sure the right shot is in the frame and stuff like that. So it's been cathartic for sure.
And you started off trying to follow me around and doing my life, but really it unfolded into a lot of other people's journey and transformation.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of got me, because I think when we read, even like when I read Journey Home by Radhanath Swami, you find your own journey home within his journey, and it doesn't necessarily look like that. It doesn't look, my journey to God, and I'm still journeying, is completely different and completely identical to Radhanath Swami's. You know what I mean? I didn't fast for 30 days and throw my clothes in the Ganga. I was sort of bitching, complaining, crying. I went about it a different way. But you see the soul's desire to reconnect, and the people that you highlighted, like Sue was highlighted in there. Parmananda's story was in there as well. Kaylee was in there again. Who else am I forgetting off the top of my head?
Fabio. So Fabio, Kaylee,
Oh, Fabio, yeah.
Moby. Yes. Thanks to Raku, we have Moby on board.
Yep.
Which is really a really good interview. So yeah, we narrowed down 27 interviews to a handful to really make it a story of spirituality, but then how two worlds come together, hardcore punk music and spirituality. And of course, you really made that happen in this universe, that you have these, a confluence of these two different things that we see in society as, bad things. You really do.
It's been a crazy ride.
Yeah,
it's a crazy ride.
It's pretty interesting, and it is about, and it became a thing for everyone. It's not about one person. It's about all of us.
Well, we have the. By the way, last time Kostuba was over, we saw the preview of it, but you're doing an actual screening in upstate New York, a private screening during our Seva retreat. We're having a Seva retreat. It's sort of top secret. And then Tom's going to show it at PS 21. So we're looking forward to that next week. But how can people see the movie eventually? I know it's not out yet officially.
No. So that's the next step. After we do the screening, that's when I'll have all the promo stuff for either film festivals, for distributors. I have a few people that I can walk right in their door and go, here, what can we do with this? And I also have the option of doing it myself and putting it up online for sale. So there's just options, and I have, talking to my lawyer about that stuff. We're down to the icky stuff now.
Right. Kostuba, you want to ask any questions?
No, but I just really enjoyed the film. I look forward to when you can get it out there and our listeners can tune in.
Yeah, and support it. And it's aesthetically gorgeous. I mean, your guy who was working the camera was like, Alex was so on spot. He really caught the mood of the pilgrimage and the people's hearts and the feeling. It was really, really special. And it was great too, because when you said, yeah, I'm going to follow you around with a big camera on the pilgrimage, I was like, well, now you're going to ruin everybody's experience. You guys were expert at just sort of like B&B. I didn't even notice you guys. And then you'd be like, look at the footage I got from today. And I was like, wow, you were not intrusive whatsoever. I never felt like you were like eclipsing our spiritual connection. You just sort of like were there, very present. And then you took a few of us away and you interviewed us and you caught some of the magic and you documented some of the magic. I was very sort of impressed.
Thank
Tom.
You. Derek and Alex are pros. They're the schoolboys.
They were pretty amazing, and your editor is amazing as well. So the movie's called Something Divine, a journey of transformation inspired by life, spirituality, and straight edge hardcore punk music.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
All right, Tom, we are on the edge of our seat, excited to see this. Thank you for joining us this morning. And we're going to help you promote it as well. We love you.
Yeah, thank you. Everyone, go on YouTube to see the trailer if you haven't seen it yet. Something Divine official trailer. I'll put the link up on here. Go to the website. There's photos from the film and grab screenshots, and it will give you a feel that what the film is and how beautiful it is, and what a great job everyone did on the project. I got to say, and everyone who was involved and all the people who interviewed who didn't get in the film, there might be a part 2 because I've been approached that already.
So cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's all just as a community go to YouTube, copy the link and post it and share it. What do you say about that? And follow it and like it as well. Okay.
Yes, like it. That will help actually with distribution.
Yeah, for sure. We're a community. We can do that. Let's get everybody who's doing that there. Go to YouTube right now. Follow, like, share, comment, give Tom some props, and looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Tom. Thanks for being such an integral part of this community. We love you, brother.
Love you too. Thank you very much for having me on.
Haribol.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. I'm excited to see this now. Ready? Kostub, I think you should come up for the Saber retreat. Bring some muck boots and some gardening gloves.
Possibly. Possibly
Ryan,
not.
you can sleep with a sheep. We got a place for you.
Okay.
Those sheep are real soft and fuzzy.
All right.
Narayanam namaskritya chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who's praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 12, Text 14.
Do you know what's going to happen today?
Squirrels?
No.
We're going to get to some deep, sweet nectar, honey.
The Jada Bharata is going to reveal his identity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
From his previous life?
From his previous lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine if you have imagine just like a little child doing that. Kostuba, I was your mother. Like a little child.
It happens all the time.
Happens all the time, this stuff.
Yeah.
Little children speak. They connect with their previous life.
Like when they say,
right?
I remember when I was your mother. You remember that? And then they just stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And the parents are like, what?
What was the one we were just seeing about that?
This is like your favorite
thing. It was
thing.
from 9/11 or something. The 9/11 child.
You're talking about that.
Okay. There's a lot of this stuff.
But, we're concluding this chapter probably today. There's only 3 verses left. And, we've been talking about it all week, but what Vyasadeva is trying to highlight in Bhagavatam, he's highlighting right here, right? You have a chapter, it's going on, and then he drops this stuff about, hey, how do you get the highest spiritualization? You get it from a bhakti yogi, from a pure devotee. It's not your austerities, it's not your yogic prowess, right? Mm-hmm. It's not your learning. It's not all these different things. Really, you get it from a heart-to-heart transmission from someone that's got love in their heart, from a pure devotee. And then he described in the last verse in text 13, he described who are those people? Where do you find them? What do they look like? And he more or less he gave 2 things to help us recognize them, like like a kind of a key to help realize who it is that we're meant to be hanging out with, spending time with, opening our minds and opening our ears and our minds to, And so he said, okay, well, where do I find those people? And he says, yatra, like in that place where you find these people, uttama shloka guna anuvada. There's just discussion of the glories and the pastimes of uttama shloka, of that divine,
topmost,
uttama shloka, who's glorified by beautiful verses, right? That's the kind of sound that's going on, right? They're not, and then he says that's what's prastuyate. That's what's presented in when you're around the right people that are going to help you with this. And then he gives the opposite, gramya kata vighataha. And there's no talking of this gramya kata. There's none of this gossip. There's none of this worldly talk going on. They're focused, you know. And then he says the result of that, when you hang out with the right people, and this is the point, matim satim. You get, matim means your meditation. Satim, it becomes pure and simple, you know. Matim satim yachati vasudeve. And your thoughts become pure, and they become and they turn to Vasudeva. They turn to that supreme being that's permeating everything, right? Who's dwelling everywhere. This is the whole point, right? You get pure thoughts. Like this is, imagine if that's what our mind was composed of, was pure thoughts, right?
Well, we have this idea of meditation should be silent. That's sort of like somehow that part of culture, because we're talking too much. It makes a lot of noise. But if you're silent, but your mind is noisy, if your mind is angry, if your mind is critical, that's not actual quietude. In bhakti, quiet means sacred sound.
Yeah.
So the idea, if we're really doing bhakti right, is we don't speak other than transcendental things that uplift, things that assist us to evolve, glorifications of divinity. Of course, you probably got to talk about some details of life. Are you making breakfast, or am I making breakfast? I'm sure that's got to come out too. But the idea is that when we talk about quiet, chanting japa is actually silence. Singing the glorifications of Lord Vishnu or kirtan is
material
actual
silence.
It's real silence, because it's supposed to silence the mind, and it's supposed to engage the soul in what it's supposed to be speaking about.
There you go.
It's not like the supreme controller wants us just to walk around and shut up. He wants us to stop speaking nonsense sound vibrations that degrade the consciousness. And we've all been there, where we're in conversation with somebody, and after the conversation, we start talking. Yeah, did you hear what she said? Oh, she said that? Well, this is what I would say if she said that again. You know, and we just go back and forth like this with this type of idle talk, village talk, gossip talk. And when you're done with that, nobody feels good. Matter of fact, if you're really digging into someone and finding fault and criticizing, you feel dirty after it. You feel like I wasted my time. And it's actually something tangible. You can feel different. Is feeling tangible? Well, it's something how about noticeable? Maybe you can't grab it.
Tangible's fine.
Tangible's fine? Okay.
Literally,
the judges say, bing, tangible is fine for words. Okay, or for feelings. So yeah, you feel dirty. Juxtapose that with reading the Bhagavatam. Just like read the Bhagavatam straight, read the verses of the 10th canto straight for 10 minutes and tell me how you feel. The verses yesterday, or the day before yesterday, they said something like, you feel illumined, you feel illuminated. Oh, no, it was Henry David Thoreau. You feel light and illuminated. That's the difference. That's how sound affects the consciousness. So real silence is hearing about these divine pastimes or these leelas, and actually it silences the noise of the mind. And I've met people, and you have too, we probably can think of a few people who have very big mouths, meaning they're just blah, 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 just talking all the time, can't stop talking. But when they become very Krishna conscious, it's not like they stop talking. They just stop talking about nonsense. And what comes out of their mouth is all Krishna conscious things all the time. We think we're just going to, if you got a big mouth that just runs on, like my mouth, you know my mouth. It's not like I'm ever going to shut up. I'm just not. You can't.
You could.
No, I can't. I can't do it. You can't make.
Have you tried?
You can't take the curly tail of a dog and make it straight. You can pull it straight, but it's going to bounce back to curly. So I'm not going to ever shut up, but I can become very Krishna conscious.
Okay.
So the majority of the stuff that's flowing out of my jaws is going to be uplifting and not degrading.
Right. Yeah, this is a measuring stick that we can use, whether it's like who we're associating. Here it's being described in terms of who we associate with, who we spend time with. In our modern world, we have to kind of expand it, like, what am I watching? What am I listening to?
Right.
But the measuring stick is this producing pure thoughts in my mind? Or is it producing thoughts of resentment, thoughts of material desire, thoughts of needs that I don't actually need, thoughts of, we can judge it, we can judge it. Or is
Yeah.
it just purely distracting, nonsensical? Am I embarrassing myself by engaging my mind in this way? Am I not using this incredibly powerful facility in a way that's worth it, or am I totally misusing it, not using it for its potential? What will this produce in my mind? That's
how about this one today? For people who's got to, suppose you got to cook today, or you got to do something around the house today, you got to vacuum today, or whatever you got to do, you got to drive somewhere today. Put some kirtan on. Just go on Spotify. This isn't a promotion for Spotify, but go on some type of music channel and play kirtan.
Okay.
Play a lecture. Binge listen to spiritual podcasts like Wisdom of the Sages, and let that be just floating in the ether, because otherwise the mind goes to other places, or the mind goes to other things on YouTube or other audiobooks or something like that. And just see the difference, how you feel by playing even the news and playing something transcendental. You'll feel different. And the way we feel is really what makes life wonderful, isn't it? Yeah. It's not like we have to, like me and Kostuba, when I see you, Kostuba, we don't have to do anything magnificent. I just like being with you. I just like you.
No, thank you.
I can do something very simple with you. We could just sit down and talk, and I just like being with you. Right? That's it's because our relationship isn't over anything material. It's over something spiritual. You don't have to do anything fancy, and you just create a nice atmosphere. If you want to have a nice relationship with a partner, do something spiritual together. Have a spiritual connection. Me and Mara go on a spiritual walk every day. Spiritual walk every day. And then we read Krishna Leela every day.
Well, let's do a little right now.
And we're doing it right now.
Text 14.
Okay, text 14. Ready?
So this is where but just sorry to get you started and cut you off. But so now that he's revealed this highest teaching, the king Rahugana, he's just like, wow, I'm blown away. I thought I was dealing with this dullard. I offended him. Then he started speaking. I said, oh my God, he's like a brilliant sage. I apologize. And then he started pouring more out, and he's taking it to his new level. And in between, like what acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have said, is like at this point, it's likely that the king turned to Jada Bharata and said, who are you? Like, you're being so merciful and so kind, giving me all of these teachings and all of this knowledge to a person like me who's offended you. Who are you? You're obviously someone special in disguise. You're walking around like you're a dullard, but who are you? Right? Now he speaks to that.
It's so great how you think this person's just like a dull doofus big guy, and completely
call them many things. Doofus.
What do you call it? I saw a very good, funny prank where some guy was sitting in a mall, just like on the floor. Sometimes people just sit on the floor. And so the prank was they went up to the guy and goes, here you go. Here. It was like a college student, like a nice, well-dressed college student. He goes, and he gives him $1. So he goes, well, here, I'm sure you're going through a hard time. I think you could use this. He goes, no, I'm not going through a hard time. Everything's fine. He goes, it's okay. I've been there too. We've all been there. It's going to get better. He's like, I'm fine. I'm actually in university right now. It's okay. You don't have to.
No, really. And here's $10,000 for you.
Here's my credit. You want to see my? The guy was like, you want to see my credit cards? I have. It's like, you don't need to prove anything to me. I believe in you. You can do it. You can get out of this situation. Okay. Text 14. Wait a second. Text 13?
14.
14. In a previous birth, I was known as Maharaj Bharat. Here he is. He has complete clarity. He sees his entire past.
Yeah.
Right. 2 lifetimes before. In a previous birth, I was known as Maharaj Bharat. I attained perfection by coming completely detached from material activities through direct experience. That's what we're selling here. We're not selling faith-based religion. We're selling direct experience. Everybody who's listening to this podcast has had some personal experience of the personality of Godhead. And through indirect experience, I received understanding from the Vedas.
Through both. You got to read that all at once.
Okay, let me try that again. I attained perfection by becoming completely detached from material activities through direct experience. And through indirect experience, I received understanding from the Vedas.
There you go. Okay.
Right? You do read it.
Yeah.
You do sort of get it.
And you
hear it from
experience.
somebody. And then you got to live it. Yeah. Then you put it to practice. I was fully engaged in the service of the Lord. But due to my misfortune, I became very affectionate to a small deer.
Remember that deer?
I think I had a dream about the deer. I kid you not.
Mm-hmm.
Last night. So much so that I neglected my spiritual duties. Due to my deep affection for the deer, in my next life, I had to accept the body of a deer.
Whew.
And he knew it. Like, it's not just like he's walking around like we say
that's what he's going to get to next.
Animal.
That's
He's
what
like, I knew what I was. I knew I was a deer. I was like, what have I done?
What have I done?
What have I done? My dear heroic king. Due to my path, I mean, because the thing about a deer, they're quite helpless in a lot of ways. They can just run. They can run.
They're vulnerable.
Well. They're vulnerable. Yeah. My dear heroic king. Due to my past sincere service to the Lord, I could remember everything of my past life, even while in the body of a deer. Because I am unaware of the fall down in my because I'm aware of the fall down of my past life, right? Fall down means to fall down from your spiritual practice. I always keep myself separate from the association of ordinary men. Pretty smart.
Mm-hmm.
I keep myself separate from the association of ordinary men. Why? What do ordinary men talk about? Well, come on into the locker room in Danbury High School. We'll tell you. They just talk about, sex, money, partying, all the things that people talk about just in the material world. Just open Time magazine. Yeah. Illusory things of this world.
Thinking that they're going to satisfy us in some way. When they
don't. And it doesn't satisfy the soul whatsoever. I always keep myself separate from the association of ordinary people. Being afraid of their bad materialistic association, I wander alone, unnoticed by others.
Wow. That's who you are.
Life, huh?
For this king, he must have known who Bharat Maharaj is, right? It's like...
Oh, interesting, because he was a historical person.
Yeah.
Like, imagine somebody saying, "Yeah, I was
President
Richard
Kennedy.
Nixon. I was Richard Nixon.
Yeah,
I was Richard Nixon, like an
Nixon,
11-year-old.
Then I became a duck-billed platypus.
And in the duck-billed platypus, I completely remember everything about Watergate. And I said, I can't do that again. I got to change my ways.
You were Nixon?
You were Nixon.
So he's like, you're King Bard.
You and me are very amused by this. No one else, everyone's got this straight face out there in the audience, but I think it's...
But so he knew who King Bard was for sure. I mean, we know of him now, what to speak of just, a couple generations removed.
Well, maybe a short generation, because let's face it, deers don't necessarily live a long time. It could have been like...
Well, you know what?
Whatever happened to King Bard?
Later on, this may be revealed. More details may be revealed. The next two chapters, Raghunath, are heavy chapters.
Mm.
The force of material enjoyment. It's It's like Jada Bharata goes into this big allegory again, similar to like we went through back in the fourth canto, where we had the story of Puranjana, and there's like a whole chapter of this extended allegory going on, and then the person that's hearing says, could you explain what all the different metaphors are within that allegory? And so that's going to happen again. But it's really these are chapters that are really designed to like kind of like look at this world with a healthy pessimism, right? Like,
yeah,
we always have this mind that we're trying to say, I just need to adjust this and that, and then it's all going to fall into place. And these are chapters that are saying it never falls into place. And if it does fall into place, then it falls out of place right away. And that's just the way it works.
Give it time.
Yeah. So we're going to have a couple of that. But then I think after that, then it's going to go down we're going to get another one of those family tree chapters where it just kind of goes down and it's naming all the all the different kings and their sons and their daughters and their marriages and, who they all became. So I'm not sure if we're going to find out where Rahugana falls into all this in relation to Bharata. Is he a descendant of his in some way? Is he like kind of like a descendant,
Right.
and but hearing from him in another form now? I'm not sure.
It's interesting because when you study Hinduism, metaphysics, and stuff like that, it's all about like, okay, what's going on with my life? Okay, I've got a malefic. We go to subtle things. We don't go to things like, okay, how's your marriage? Even before you get to a marriage or have children, you're checking your astrology. You're looking at like celestial bodies. Okay, I have an inauspicious, planet in my 5th house. How can I counteract that? Well, you can do a puja. You can chant these mantras. You can wear a jewel. They're all interesting things to change your karma. Here, the Bhagavatam is unique in the fact that it's saying your good karma can potentially ruin your life. Bad karma can save your life. It's like sometimes you even it's basically sharing there is no good investment in this material world.
That's
the material world is a sandcastle. It's like it's like Confederate money. It's worth nothing. You can't purchase anything. It has no purchasing power. But it seems like real money. There's nothing to purchase. You can't buy anything. We won't take it at a store. And this is what happens. No matter what the investment is in the material world, you're beautiful, you're wealthy, you're strong, you're really deep. And unless that stuff is engaged in some connection with an out of this world source, it's actually just like a long list of zeros. You got a big batch of nothing. I got a little batch of nothing. He's got a huge batch of nothing. It's all nothing.
Right.
Come check out my gigantic vault of nothing.
They say that part of what keeps America going is like this idea of the American dream. And even though you may not have it, just the fact that you have it in the back of your mind that someday I could be a millionaire. Sometimes like someday I could be a billion. Maybe we have to say billionaire now. Someday I could be a billionaire.
Yeah.
It like keeps people going, and then it. What?
$1 million.
So kind of what happens in those coming chapters is like, when you start, there's a way to. If you're just speaking negatively about the material world, it just sounds entirely negative unless you have a broader perspective, unless you understand, no, we're minimizing the value of material pleasure because it's nothing compared to spiritual reality, to spiritual,
If you're new out there and you're trying to tell this philosophy to somebody else, you can very easily lean into the material world is a miserable place, and your friends and relatives be like, what is the matter with you? Why are you so negative?
Yeah.
But the fact is, I can fully get the material world is a miserable place, but here's a caveat. You're a spiritual being. There's no hope in the material world. There's great hope in the spiritual realm, and we're spiritual beings. That's great news.
Yeah. And the fact that that doesn't mean that you can't experience and even enjoy material pleasure in this world.
Really?
But you have to perceive it in a whole different context. You have to zoom out and try to understand really what it is. And as you kind of phrased it, you don't bank on that. You don't say, because like what those chapters are going to go right into is going to say, okay, let's look at the family life, what that's all about. Let's look at life in the business world. Let's look at what that's all about, and it's going to paint a very negative picture, and the idea is it's not that you can't enjoy family life or you can't enjoy the business world, but if you're thinking that that's where I find my fulfillment, you will be let down, and you will, at least by time, if not sooner, if not by, in other words, it's going to get taken away from you, but it may disappoint you even before it's taken away from you. And, just talk to someone like a divorce lawyer, and they're going to tell you, this stuff is pretty accurate, because I'm dealing with this every day, like 50% of these marriages end in divorce.
Someone in the ER, someone in the emergency room, right? Yeah. Someone, a heart surgeon, anybody who works in the hospital, a nurse.
Yeah. Someone in the prisons, someone in the hospitals, someone in the courts, someone, they're going to tell you, this stuff is accurate, we're trying to. So in any case, that's
A
coming.
neonatal nurse practitioner, perhaps.
Neonatal nurse. Okay.
I don't even know what that means. Someone wrote it on the board. But here, I really like this idea. Mara, you should be writing this down instead of knitting. I like this idea of Confederate money. What do you think about that? I have a huge vault of Confederate money. Big deal. And it had some worth before the war, before the Civil War, and now it's got no worth whatsoever. Even wheelbarrows of Confederate money cannot buy me a loaf of bread.
Confederate money.
Like this Confederate money.
You just like treasures and old things.
Safes. Numismatics. Hey, you know what? I had a nice talk with a good friend of mine who's not a devotee. Super cool guy, though, but we both have teenagers, and he's just saying, like, his very sweet son has just started, like, just being rude the last couple of years. And he's getting ruder and ruder and ruder. He's just doing the teenage thing.
Heartbreaking. That's got to kill.
And I could just see the pain. He goes, I don't know what to do. I want to keep some boundaries, but I can't. He just won't listen. And this guy was a total, like, rebel himself. He
coming back at him.
Yeah, it was ran away from home, all this stuff. And now he's like very, very stable. But he's just like, I don't know what to do. It's like a biggest betrayal of the heart. It's like, I want to help him. He's not interested in me. He doesn't like me and my wife anymore. If they only knew how much we sacrificed. This is the material world. It's an investment in love. And you may not get anything back except if we're doing this for a higher love. If we're loving these kids so we can learn how to love freely and not love hoping for some transaction. It's not transactional love in the world. It's unconditional love towards God and seeing God in that being and understanding that everything is flowing through my hands, just like I'm just trying to hold on to a waterfall. And I'm just being as loving as I can in each situation. And what it does, it refines and polishes our love. I mean, come on, let's face it. 18-year-old, I thought, lust was love. And slowly you learn, like, well, that's not love. That was just lust. And we're in a process of refining love again and again and again as we grow, right? What do you think?
I think it's a great point. I think so. In other words, that was one level. And another level is like parental love that one has for their child. And then you suffer through that. And the world's trying to show you your love is still not correct. Your love is still impure. You wanted this person to fulfill this one person out of unlimited people. You felt like you had some connection that's different than all the others, but time's going to make that disappear in a second too. You got very invested in it, and there's nothing wrong with that investment, but the way you characterize that investment. The love that I get through this person is going to define my life and give me the deepest joy, and I'm dependent on it. That was a miscalculation. That was right. And now you're going to suffer. And now the world's not going to punish you in a sense, but the world's going to reveal that illusion through pain because you don't get it through hearing. And so then you're going to have to feel that a little. But it's interesting. I wonder if. I'm sure there's parents out there that are like, my child was never anything but joy for me. Like, of course, there's always anxiety.
That's trouble. That's trouble.
But
as our good friend Tara says, when it's good, it's bad. And when it's bad, it's good.
But my point is, maybe some parents don't have to deal with the teenage rebellion and that kind of, I got to imagine that's got to just be brutal heartbreak when your little daughter, who was always your little daddy's girl, is like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. Stay away from me. By
the way, guess what Scotchy wants for her 18th birthday?
What?
My daughter's 18th birthday is coming up this weekend. She wants a motorcycle course so she can get her permit, which is $250, and she wants a tattoo gun.
Okay.
My little angel wants a tattoo gun for her.
And she's joining the Hells Angels. Yeah. So that's not, even though you love her and even though she loves you, that's still like,
it's still like, ow,
nothing but anxiety.
Like her beautiful creamy skin is going to be like covered in poor choice tattoos. I know what
she wants to do her own tattoo herself.
I don't know. Kids nowadays, they get anything. They get them on their face and necks. Who knows what they're going to do?
Okay. So
they've taken it up a notch.
Right. But my point is, for most parents, they're going to have to, on some level, go through this brutal heartbreak, right? It's just like some kind of gut wrenching, heart wrenching pain, that comes from it. So my point being is, when we read these chapters that we're coming up to next, it's not just like this is some dark negative stuff that's just like this is very perceptive, and it's granted it's highlighting one side of it, but it's really important to hear, otherwise we never let go. But we'll get there. Tomorrow is Narsingha Chaturdasi, I believe.
Ooh, maybe we should have some special Nrsimha.
Maybe we should do something special for that. Yeah. And then we can pick up.
Oh, I've got something. Who just was going to. Oh, anyway, go.
Okay. So, any case, and then, so maybe tomorrow we do that, and then we start, if we finish this chapter today, which we should, we pick up in the new chapters on Friday. But why don't we go ahead and finish this?
Okay. Simply by associating, wait a second. Text
this is the last
16.
Did we
Simply
do
by associating with exalted devotees. That's what we're doing right now. Anyone can attain perfection of knowledge, and with the sword of knowledge can cut to pieces the illusory associations within this material world. This is real detachment. Through the association of devotees, one can engage of the Lord by hearing and chanting, aka Shravanam Kirtanam.
Yeah.
Thus, one can revive his dormant Krishna consciousness, right? Dormant means it's in us already. We're not like bringing something into us. Krishna consciousness is within us. It is our birthright. It is us. It's in the acorn. The oak tree is in the acorn. Krishna consciousness is already within us. You're not converting to it. You're already a devotee of God.
It's waking it up.
Right. The dormant Krishna consciousness, and sticking to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, return home back to Godhead, even in this life. Is this the perfect philosophy? How could anybody not hear this and go, wow, I've read a lot of books on spirituality. This is the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I mean, some people,
right?
I feel that way.
I feel that way.
He says
That's
here,
so well said.
It's so well said that he says, not every person, asanga. It's talking about two things: asanga and susanga. Right?
Susanga,
asanga, and susanga.
So susanga means good sangha.
Yeah, asanga, like detachment, right? Freedom from sangha, freedom from attachment. So asanga here means, he's saying there's two sides to this. You need to become detached from material things, asanga, but not just detached, also susanga. You need to become attached. Now, this you don't always get through our Eastern philosophers, right? No, yep. I thought you just meant to be entirely detached. No. You become detached from the mundane things, from the materialistic things, from the illusory things. How? Susanga, by becoming attached. And here, susanga is referring to associating with the right people. Get attached to that. And what's the result of that? Jata, it produces jnana asina, a sword of knowledge. Right? That you just cut through everything with, right? You just cut your way out of that knotted world that you're in with that sword. So now he's gonna, now that's kind of concluded one end, but now he's gonna go into depth. He's laying out, here's a path out of material entanglement, right? Well, let's go into depth and understanding our entanglement, and that's gonna be the next couple chapters, the forest of material enjoyment.
Beautiful.
All right.
Miss Mara, what do you got for us today? Today I'm going to feel a little lonely, and I wish I had a takeaway. What do you got for me?
Got a tattoo gun and a motorcycle.
Tattoo gun and a motorcycle course. At least she's taken the course.
I think you have to get your motorcycle license. Yeah.
Like, what else could she have asked for to like get under my skin?
Oh, come on. Your thoughts become pure by hanging out with pure devotees.
The funny thing is, I'm covered with tattoos, and I'm against it. That's the funny.
And
thing.
you have a motorcycle, Raghunath. You set this.
I have a motorcycle. Yes.
Quiet means sacred sound.
I've done this to her.
Yeah.
That's right. You're responsible.
Yeah. Did you ever get to that point where you're like, oh, I get it. All these things are driving me crazy with these kids. I've done it to them.
That's
right.
Yeah. This is on you.
Yeah. This is my pain for coming home with an earring in 8th grade to show my mom. She lost her marbles. I had a big hanging skull.
Oh, a skull.
Big hanging skull. She was my father. Don't even talk to me about my dad.
What'd your mom say about your tattoos when you started getting tattoos?
She said, "What? What?"
When she saw your first tattoos?
Yeah.
What was your first tattoo? Oh, the Om thing?
Well, I had Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya around my
wrist.
But I think I got worse reaction from my father with the earring. Because I went to the same high school. Like, he was a teacher at the high school.
What did he teach?
He was a guidance counselor and an English teacher. But so he's like, "You're coming to the school that I teach at, dressing like this?"
And I'm the guidance counselor, and I can't even guide my own kid here.
I'm sorry.
That had to be weird, Raghunath, having your father in your own school.
It was a little weird. I got in a fight once. I got in a fight with a guy who picked on me.
And then he said something about your father?
No. We got in this big fight, and he picked on me. He was a senior and I was a sophomore.
Okay.
And I got in suspension. And then
I was picking up her needles again. It's gonna be a while. Here we go.
It's a good story. It's a good story. I got in suspension, and then he said. Then he called me back and apologized because he goes, "Yeah, I'm actually
your father's
I love your father. Your father. He's a good man. I'm sorry I did this to you." And Anyway, here's the deal. You get a little tattoo. Kids nowadays are taking it to the next level. It's their neck. It's their face.
Yeah, this is every generation is like this, Raghunath.
Every generation has to take it to the next level. You know what's gonna come soon?
It's got to swing back.
I've always said stuff like this. I'm a trendsetter. People are gonna start cutting off parts of their body. Yes. Okay.
Well,
you think
that is happening?
You think I'm crazy, Tommy Fawcett? Here, I'm taking off my pinky. A little piece of my pinky coming off. That's gonna be like, whoa, cool.
Or maybe an addition. I got a third arm. Check it out.
It's a lifeless arm. What do you call a lifeless appendage?
I don't know.
Yes, we talked about this.
I don't know.
A vesticular?
Something like
A
that.
vesicuous? Banjo Mike, you know this. Why does Banjo Mike know this?
I don't know. I think you put it on the board. I think he knows because I think it's the same thing with a tree. Vestigial
limb. That's what it is. Vestigap. Roger Tompkins. Okay.
No,
Vestigal. Yeah. All right. Back to our takeaways. Sorry about that little detour.
Japa and kirtan are real silence.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Keep away from contaminating material conversations.
Run. Run. That is my favorite reply to people now. I get one of those run gifts just when you
There is no good investment in this material world.
Yeah, because you're going to lose it.
Christina Om Namo Shivaya says, extreme body modification, stuff like that's going on, like people getting their tongues split like a snake. Oh, God.
Back to our takeaways. There's great hope in the spiritual realm.
That's right.
Yeah, we're fortunate.
Wake up and revive our Krishna consciousness.
With a stick and poke tattoo.
We're in a process of refining our love.
Send me a higher love. Whoa.
And
yeah.
And
your Confederate money can't buy a loaf of bread.
A big safe of nothing. We want to welcome Jiva the Hammer to the show today.
We should see, Mara, if we can find like a Confederate coin or bill.
Henry's got Confederate money.
I was going to say, and give it to Raghu as a gift.
I don't think it's expensive. Someone tried to destroy my... Who was it? Someone's like, Raghunath, no, Confederate money has worth. Numismatic worth. I don't think it does. I don't think it does.
It's probably worth way more than it ever was worth, because it's like you could probably sell that Confederate $1 bill for like
some redneck.
$10,000 now.
Right. No, I don't think it does have that much worth, actually.
Confederate money is worth
someone's
more
trying
than
to
regular
ruin
money.
my analogy here by saying Confederate money has numismatic value. I don't think it does. Where's Henry? Why isn't Henry writing on the board right now? He knows this stuff. Okay, you guys. Well, look at Snookalini dancing. I want to see the war dance with Jiva the Hammer.
That's her name now.
Dancing around
Just
with
the
that
hammer.
The Hammer. The Donbassies are running for their life. Got
Hammer
a garland
Davy.
of skulls around her neck.
Her name should be Gadadhar.
Gadadhar. Oh, that's good. Gadadhar means the one who holds the Gada, the club. Guess what Mara bought me for Christmas? A Gada.
Oh, club?
A club, yeah, like one of those Indian clubs.
Yeah, how many times have you picked it up?
What? Ananda Leela says, one. I got news for you, sir. I pick it up a lot.
All right.
Art Alec. Now I can't pick it up because of my hernia, but coming back. According to Ananda Leela, according to Google. All right.
Yeah, one Confederate dollar is worth 265. So there goes your whole analogy. You gotta take that one.
Man, the Confederate dollar has gone up. Time to invest in Confederate money. All right. Well, that was such a good analogy.
Yeah, doesn't work anymore.